Hi, my name is Mini Chocobo, and this is my data from 100 Birdhouse runs post the November 22nd of 2018 Birdhouse changes. I will note that these 100 runs are actually after the November 27th of 2018 changes, which actually rebuffed them. I had been recording runs before that because I had been suspicious about the rates that Jagex had said, and I am glad that that data was actually correct. I'm going to go ahead and include those runs at the end of the video, but I did put a separate data table for them just because they are not relevant anymore. For those of you solely interested in the hard crunching numbers, I went ahead and added a bunch of different timestamps in the comment section, and I'll have that pinned as well as in the description. And I will have a TLDR conclusion section, so I'm going to go ahead and mention that. Also, the data is all from 91 and 92 Hunter, as you can see in my Hunter level. So if you are 99, you can expect to get a little bit more, and if you are less than 99, there's going to be obviously a little bit less. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the data. I briefly wanted to touch upon how I recorded my data just for the sake of being thorough. And essentially, I just had a big spreadsheet, and what I did was I had been recording the seed types, but I found that to be irrelevant, so I didn't mention it in this video at all. But essentially, I had the seed nest, so the amount of seed nest, the amount of ring nest, the amount of empty nest, and the amount of clue nest. And that would be auto-summed, so each one of these will auto-sum the run number, well, everything besides the run number, so all of these. And then that would be all of these total numbers would be summed as well. So as you can see, it's just a sum of all these. And these runs down here were before the 1127 hotfix, so they have different averages and stuff. So I went and added a different section to that. It's definitely worth looking at, so go ahead and click on that in the description after you're done watching the video if you skipped around. But let's go ahead and just go through all 100 observations just for the sake of being thorough, as I said before. Here's all 100 observations. There's the grand total of 971, which you'll see in the future, and then continuing onward. And something also to note is that every single nest past around, I think it was, yeah, run 20 was barley for this observation. So the first 20 were Guam, followed by barley. So I wanted to start off this video with a benchmark on the old birdhouses and how I think they've changed. The main thing to note is that these numbers here are approximations. I don't have exact logs of every single birdhouse run I've ever done, and so it's important to note that this is an estimation. I will say that this number, the 10,638, are the amount of crushed and normal nest in my bank. The 4,257 are the number of 3-dose brews, so you can essentially consider these as nest, and I converted all of my brews into 3-dose so I know the exact number. When you add these together, you get a total of 14,895 nests since doing my 6.1 million hunter experience. At current time, I am actually 6.2 million, but I wanted to go ahead and subtract the EXP needed for 37 hunter, which is right here, as well as around 100,000 experience, give or take from dragon implings as well as other implings that I've caught randomly while doing farm runs, as well as around 300 chinchompas that I've caught since getting at least 63 hunter. What I then did was, after getting this number of 6.1 million approximately, I went into an experience table and got the exact number for each birdhouse milestone. For example, at 89 hunter, you are now allowed to make the redwood birdhouses. So what I did was I went ahead and subtracted the EXP 489. So that's 4842,295. And that would give me this number here, which is 1.3 million approximate. What I did with this number was then I would divide the total experience of a birdhouse run, which for redwoods is 1,200 per birdhouse. So times that by 4 and you get 4,800. So I divide this by 4,800 and that gives me a total of 271 redwood runs. This obviously is approximation. As you can see, there is a decimal place, which in a birdhouse run, you wouldn't really have this unless you're messing up your timers. But I went ahead and stuck to the rounded numbers. I did the same thing for magic birdhouses as well as for U and below. I will say that I had around 260 U's. I didn't really know how many exactly below that, so I just went ahead and added another 35. So this will add to the margin of error. So moving forward, I went ahead and totaled these different numbers, and I got 1362, so 1,362 total birdhouse runs. I went ahead and divided the total number of bird nests I have in my bank by this number and came out to an average of 10.93 birdhouse runs per run. Or birdhouse nests per run, correction. I will note that, as I said, I did increase in hunter levels over time so that this number probably grew exponentially, but also this was before the changes, and they said that there was no real difference between U Magic and Redwood, whereas there are now. I will go ahead now and show you the current data that I have for Redwood birdhouses. So now that I went over the estimates to birdhouses prior to the November 22nd/27th hotfix, I wanted to go ahead and explain each variable one time through, as well as explaining the overall data I received from birdhouses of 100 runs between 91 and 92. So the first thing to note is that, as you can see, there are a total of 100 birdhouse run observations here, and I received a total of 971 nests. When you take the average of this, you get 9.71 nests per birdhouse run. So the different variables I have are the seeds. So the birdhouses with seeds in them, the birdhouses with the, or correction, the bird nests with seeds in them, the nests with rings in them, empty nests, and clue nests. I also wanted to have the total here just so that I could get a better estimation for you guys and as well as display this total number. So the minimum describes the minimum amount of X received in a given run. So in any given run, at some point between these 100 runs, I actually gained 0 seeds in one of these runs. And then the max I ever received was 4. So something I want to note about this is that this is definitely the biggest nerf to Iron Men that I think has come out. Definitely birdhouses were the way I received 99 farming 100%, and it definitely does hurt Iron Men a little bit in terms of that farming experience gained. Does it mean that birdhouses are not worth doing? Definitely not, but this is definitely the biggest hit to Iron Men that I've seen so far. On average, I received 2.9 seed nest per run. Rings, I received actually less per run, so an average of 2.39, which can be rounded up to 2.4. And I received a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 8 in a single run. This is definitely way larger than I ever received prior to this, but it doesn't really change too much. Rings are pretty much either junk or alkables, and if they are the rings of dueling / the rings of recoil precursors, they are useful, but other than that, it's just alkables and junk. The empty nest was probably the biggest change. So between the seed nest and the empty nest, this was the largest increase. As you can see, 4.41 average per run. Before, I would definitely say there were a lot less empty nests compared to seeds. I would say seeds 100% was the highest amount received, and empty was the lowest. So they definitely flipped places. And as you can see, the lowest I ever received in a given run was 0, and the largest was 9. And clues, out of all 400 birdhouses that I did, I only received 1 clue scroll. It was a hard clue for anyone wondering. And as I said before, the minimum was 0 clue scrolls received in a run, and the maximum was only 1. At 80 Hunter or so, I actually had a easy, medium, and hard clue from Nest all in one run. I definitely think the clues are a little rare now, but as I said, that this is something that is such a rare occurrence that definitely I would need to do another 1,000 runs to really justify that data. And as I said before, my average per run was 9.71 nests, with the minimum always being 4 and the maximum being 15. And so now I'm going to go ahead and break down this number into 91 and 92 Hunter. I have 25 birdhouse runs at 91 Hunter and then 75 after achieving 92. So what you can expect to see is that for 91, this number will be lower average, and for 92, the number will be higher than this average. So let's go ahead and get into the 91. So here's my data for 91 Hunter. As I said, there are 25 observations, which means 100 total redwood birdhouses. And as you can see, the mean indeed did drop by 0.4. So in overall data, my mean went from 9.71 to 9.3, and this was the biggest change. The thing to note is that my clue scroll that I received actually was within these 25 observations. So you'll see the maximum here at 1. The overall data here pretty much didn't change too much. The seeds actually, the average went up. And this is just based on the number of observations. You probably realize that this number probably goes closer to the average that I had above if you were to do another 100 observations of just 91 Hunter. As you can see, the total number of nests received from these 25 runs was 233, and as I said before, that comes to an average of 9.32. Let's go ahead and look at the 92 Hunter data now. So this is my data from 92 Hunter, and so as you can see, there are 75 total runs that were recorded, and the average seeds were 3 per run. The average rings was about the same as 91. The average empty was about the same as the total average, and then obviously I had 0 clues, as I said before. The biggest difference was the mean. So the average amount of nests collected was 0.5 higher than that of 91 Hunter, which makes me really want to keep continuing recording this data and seeing if there's a big difference in 99. I could use my main account and really check this, but I would have to religiously be doing birdhouses on my main, and I'm kind of AFKing stuff on it, and I don't have any other accounts with 99 Hunter, unfortunately. So as you can see at the bottom, the total number of nests from all 75 runs was 738, and as I said before, that is a 9.8 average, so definitely was a noticeable difference in the level increase from 91 to 92. This is very important to note. This is something that Jagex said that they corrected for, as in the higher Hunter you are now, the more nests you will be getting, whereas before it was very random. So I wish I would have recorded a lot of data beforehand, but unfortunately I didn't. But as I said before, the higher Hunter level you are now, the more nests you can get. And that is definitely double-checked and conclusive data from this observation. This is a bonus section on observations collected before the 1127 hotfix. I wanted to go ahead and originally do this video to show Jagex that they had messed up on their averages, and it was pretty evident. I'm glad other players also caught on to this, and I didn't want to rush out a video before having too much data, but I did want to keep it just to show how much they had nerfed birdhouses. So I had done a total of 20 Redwood birdhouse runs at 91 Hunter at before this, so from 1122 to 1127. And you can see my average was down to 6.25 nests per run. So definitely was not very good, and was very concerned with how much they had nerfed it. This is almost half of what I was getting before the nerf. So I definitely am glad they switched it, but as I said before, you can look at the data here. The seeds were about the same, actually, but the empty nest and rings were a lot lower than the average. I would say that they never changed the seed data. I think that they always kept the seeds the same, even now, but the rings and empties, they definitely... I actually think they doubled it. Just looking at the numbers, the raw numbers, now that I actually look at this, it actually looks like they just multiplied these by 2. So that's actually kind of interesting. I never really thought about that, but these numbers are pretty much unanimous with they doubled these, and that got you to the proper thing. So I'm going to go ahead and add this, like I said, into the video, because that's kind of interesting. I wonder if that's actually what they did, but maybe it's just from low observations. It just happened to be a coincidence, but that is quite interesting. But yeah, as you can see, 6.25 was the average back then. That was really awful, so I'm glad they definitely upped it a bit. So I want to go ahead and add a little TLDR section just for some people who maybe aren't interested in knowing all the data as well as going through all of the different variables here. So long story short, from my 100 birdhouse runs, I received a total of 971 nests, which is an average of 9.71. The key thing to note is that this is a straddle between 91 and 92 Hunter, with this number weighted towards 92 Hunter. At 91 Hunter, I received 9.3 nests on average, and at 92, I received 9.8. And that's from 25 observations as well as 75, which comes to the total of 100. I think that the biggest nerf to birdhouses were the seed nest. Definitely hurt Ironman a lot, and I think it will take you around double the amount of birdhouse runs to get 99 farming now. but the overall nest is about the same as prior to the nerf. As I said before, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. I wanted to mention that I do make Hardcore Iron Man Progress videos, so if you are interested in those, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you could like the videos so other people can maybe find the channel, that'd be awesome too. If you are interested in joining my Discord, I will leave a link in the description. Also, I always play on World 356, so if you want to come hang out, you can pretty much find me doing a Birdhouse run every hour. So if you're on 56, you'll pretty much find me almost every day. So it's really appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.